Actually, I might read this one too, if you don't mind. Just a little story. I've got it here. I've got a mark here. When I was traveling in that part of the world, I did a lot of reading. I had time on my hands. I was backpacking. I had lots of time. And you stay in these little hotels. They're very cheap. You can live there cheaper than you could certainly live here. And when I was in Delhi sometime before, it was one of those, I didn't spend a lot of time in Delhi. It's a big city. It was hot. It was polluted. But it was the place you went whenever you came out of wherever I was in the Himalayas to get back to the next place in the Himalayas. It was sort of the stopping off point. And one time that I was there, I met a whole group of people that we became really good friends. It was just one of those moments in time when you just met a group of people that we all got along. We'd have a lot of meals together and share books and ideas. And there was a book that I just loved at the time, and it was written by Richard Bach. I don't know if any of you know Richard Bach, but he wrote a series of books. He was a pilot, and he wrote books about his piloting days. And this one book that I just loved was called Illusions, a little black book. He's written Bridge Across Forever, and you probably know the other one of his famous books, Jonathan Livingston Seagull. But this book, Illusions, I had a worn old copy, pretty worn copy that I had, and I used to lend it to all sorts of people and recommend that they read it. It only took you a few hours to read it. It was a great little story. And this one guy, we went for a meal. I think that's probably enough to tell you, other than, because I'll read this a little bit. But at this point in time, I was in the Hunza for the second time. And I was there for the summer. I'd been there coming across from China. I'd arrived just on the last crossing from the pass from China and into the Hunza. And then I stayed there for a month, and I had to leave because you can only get a 1-month permit in Pakistan. But I was back for the summer, and I had lots of time. And when I first got to the Hunza, there was two English guys on bicycles. And they were going to go over that same pass I'd been on, which was 4,700 meters. It was a pretty ambitious trek to go on bicycles. But they wanted to lighten their load a little bit. And so they were getting rid of books. And they came up to me, and they said, "We want you to have this book." And it was Illusions. I said, "Oh, give it to somebody else. I've read it so many times. You know, give it to someone else. I don't need this book." They said, "No, we want you to have this book." I said, "No, give it to somebody else. No, we really want you to have this book." I said, "Okay, I'll take it." So I put it on my windowsill, and I left it there for close to 2 months. And right near the end, I was going to be leaving to go back to India. I picked it up and thought, I'll read it again. You know, because it's the kind of book that's great. You can read it again, but you don't want to read it just after you've read it. I opened it up. Let's just get to this part. So finally, I decided to read the copy of Illusions that had been so deliberately handed to me by the English cyclists near the beginning of my summer in paradise. As I picked up the book, I recalled fondly all the times I'd shared the book with others. First, I had encouraged Dean to read it when we met in Kathmandu. He loved it. And then in New Delhi, I had lent a copy of the book to several friends. And one of these new friends, David, an Australian, had been very touched by the story. And at a dinner in a pizza restaurant near Connaught Circus, walking distance from the Paharganj hotels we each stayed in, David proudly confided in me, this is a few months before, that he'd bought a copy of Illusions to give to Deidre, a friend who was leaving the next day. Our little group had called that meal our Bodhisattva celebration. And in the Buddhist tradition, a Bodhisattva is one who's liberated from the seemingly endless cycles of birth and death, but who vows to remain in human form until all beings are liberated. We joked over the meal about all being bodhisattvas. I think David was the bodhisattva of Ayers Rock, and I was the bodhisattva of Niagara Falls, and we were having some fun. It was funny how just picking up the book brought back such vivid and pleasant memories. I sat down in comfort to read and opened the book. Neatly handwritten inside the front cover were the following words: "To Deidre, love David, February 1988. Now here I was in another country, been handed the book months before by people I didn't know, who said I should have that book. And it was a book that was given by the guy I'd suggested read it to somebody else at a dinner that I'd attended. Now, what are the chances of that? pretty rare, I think. To me, that goes beyond chance. There's got to be something else at work. It has to be when something like that happens.